The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. On The Point of View, we get the right guests. We ask them the relevant questions on issues that matter to you. It's an interactive show. If you're watching on television, please send us your views on the WhatsApp number on the screen. We have a huge debate tonight. We did a big boring debate a year ago. Now we're doing the big infrastructure debate. The Vice President set the cat among the pigeons when he presented the MPP's infrastructure achievements. Lots of issues in there to discuss. I have a very interesting panel. I'll tell you more about them when I come back. Stay with us. Okay, so tonight we are going to subject the claims of politicians to strict proof. We have two politicians in the studio, but let me first tell you that The Point of View is brought to you by Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. So the Vice President has been at the forefront of the MPP's claims in relation to not just the macroeconomy, but specific sectors. On Tuesday, he addressed a live press briefing, which was in over 70 radio stations across the country, where he touted in a 64-page presentation the achievements of the MPP in 3.5 years. His spokesperson and right-hand man, Dr. Gideon Boaku, an economist, is in the studio. Doc, welcome to the show.
It's honored for having me.
It's good to have you.
Same here.
I also have a former Deputy Minister for Communication and a member of the National Democratic Congress in the person of Felix. I'm not sure if it's Ofosu Kwachi or Kwachi Ofosu. Always confuses me.
It's Kwachi Ofosu.
Kwachi Ofosu.
Since my school days, I've suffered
they always miss
the trouble of having my name mixed up. So these days, I respond to it any way you call me. Yeah.
Great. Felix is also the NDC parliamentary candidate for AAK. They call it Abura Asebu Kwamankesi. Felix, great to have you.
Nice to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah. And we're happy to have you as well watching. Please help us with the fact checks and also with your comments. If you're watching on Facebook, send your views to us on the stream. Let's keep the comments clean. We may go beyond an hour, depending on how exciting the show is. So relax, get a cup of tea, and let's have fun. Let me first tell you or remind you of some of the key points the Vice President made. I remember 3 key points. First thing he said, I remember, was that he says that in 3.5 years, no government had done as much infrastructure investment as this Nana Akufo-Addo government. Number 2, he says they were focused on value for money, and their projects were more value for money than their predecessors. Number 3, he says they didn't abandon projects as being touted. Let's start with his comments on value for money.
So there's been a lot of road construction taking place across the country in the urban areas. We've got 589 kilometers of asphaltic overlay and rehabilitating 143 kilometers, reconstructing 97 kilometers. We are also constructing 4 state-of-the-art interchanges. You have the Tema interchange, where the loan, the salt cutting, and the completion were executed by this government. We have the Tamale interchange under the Sino-Hydro program. This is the first ever interchange in the 5 northern regions of Ghana, and it's at 44% completion. Then we have the Pokuasi interchange. This is a 4-tier interchange in West Africa. It's the first 4-tier interchange in West Africa. The first. That's the Pokuasi interchange. The loan agreement for this project was signed in November 2016 for a 3-tier interchange. When we came into office, we looked at it from a value for money perspective, renegotiated it for a 4-tier interchange for the same amount of money. For the same amount of money. We have the Obechebi-Lamte interchange, which is 55% complete. And I just cut the sword for the construction of the Nungwa interchange, which is yet to really start. But this is the highest number of interchanges, that is 5, that are being constructed in the first term of any government since independence. This is the highest number. But we are not finished. A 6th interchange, the PTC interchange in Takoradi, which will be the first interchange in the Western region, we will cut the sword next month for the start of that work under the Sino-Hydro project. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that the cost of the Tema, Tamale, Pokwasi, and Obechebi-Lamte interchanges is $289 million. 4 interchanges. Together, $289 million. While the cost of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange was contracted at $260 million.
So that was Dr. Bawumia throwing his first punch. He threw other punches. He described the claim that the MPP had abandoned projects inherited from the NDC administration as propaganda. And he went ahead to point out in the health sector some of the projects they had inherited and finished. So let's just hear that.
Ladies and gentlemen, contrary to propaganda, in addition to what we have done, that we have shown you in the data, in addition to that, we have also completed several health projects that we inherited from the previous government. Out of 30 infrastructure projects that we inherited from the previous government in the health sector, we have completed 16 of them, including 10 polyclinics, 2 district hospitals. There's also ongoing construction of another 9 district hospitals. So if you look at what we have completed, the polyclinic at Bisiasi, at Gomoa, Daurompong, Ekumfi, Noakwa, Birua, a polyclinic at Esi Sunkwa, Bimpong Eja, and then Gomoa as well, Jamera, Mankron, Akomfodi, and all of these have been completed. We completed the ongoing upgrading of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. We completed the ongoing construction of the offices of the Ministry for Health and Regulatory Bodies. We completed the Ga East Municipal Hospital. When we came, it wasn't quite completed. We completed it, and so on. So we have the data to show very clearly, and therefore it cannot be the case that we abandon projects that we inherited. It's in our interest to complete them. So we've completed 16 out of 30, and we are continuing and going to.
So that was Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So Dr. Gideon Boako, in watching yesterday, I picked 4 key things. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Vice President said the first thing was that, of course, this database is good for governance. So it's good for media, civil society to track. So it's a tracking tool. That's his main point, that we have put it together, 17,000 projects. Second one, the MPP government under Nana Akufo-Addo has done more in infrastructure than any other government in the same period of time. That's the second point I got from what he said. Third point is that the MPP projects are better value for money than the John Mahama projects. That's the third point I got. And the fourth point was that, contrary to claims that this government had abandoned NDC projects, they had finished some. And he gave the health as an example. I don't know if those 4 make sense to you. Are there more? I'm sure you guys wrote the speeches and put the stuff together. If I said this was this, if I wrote a news item and put this 4 as my top 4 stories, would you say I done a good job?
Yeah, I think, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm also glad to be here with my colleague, Felix. We used to be mates then at KNUST.
You used to be mates at KNUST? Oh, really? Studying what department?
I was in the chemistry department. I think he was in the economics department.
You studied chemistry?
That's my first degree.
He's a great chemist.
I'm
a scientist.
Economics?
No, I studied science, my first degree.
You did science?
Yeah.
Physical science?
Yeah. Okay, so
Wow.
we did back from KNUST.
Okay.
And, fellas, remember we used to do this on 9-beat.
Night beat?
On Love FM with Samson Ladi and
Oh, you've been doing this for years?
Absolutely.
He was also, Samson was also our colleague on campus. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that time you were MPP, he was NDC?
He was in TESCON, I was in TEIN. He was TESCON president. I was the spokesperson for TEIN. No,
I was the spokesperson.
Yeah, the spokesperson, yes.
Oh,
I was
really?
also the spokesperson, yes.
Wow.
There's 2005.
From 2005 to now.
Wow. I see.
Yeah, so that's how far we have come.
Good.
Yeah, so as you said, I mean, you put it right. You were not far from the
truth.
right. And I think the next day newspaper headlines also kind of followed the same trajectory. Basically, what we have done, or what we decided to do as a government, was to think through the whole governance structure and the governance architecture, and then also to see how best we can remain accountable to the good people of this country. President Akufo-Addo has used so many channels to account to the people of this country. In fact, different governments use some similar and somehow different channels. Sometimes People's Forum and all of that. One of the key things that we decided to do is also the town hall meeting and the results fair. We did the first one, the second one was done in Kumasi this year. And then when we did the second one in Kumasi to kind of talk about our manifesto records, the Vice President hinted that along the line we're going to come up with this infrastructure records. But of course, the COVID-19 came, and so we all had to stay back until things eased up. Now, on this particular exercise, we felt that we needed to put our infrastructure records, together by way of data. But what was key amongst the exercise we did was how to make it easily accessible to the Ghanaian people. We are not doing this ostensibly to say that we want to show off what we have done. But it's exercise that we think we had to do to enhance the whole democratic ethos and also give some kind of impetus to the whole transparency issue that we talk about. So government is trying to be very transparent. This is what we gather as evidence of our infrastructure record. You, the Ghanaian people, it is on your task that government survives and government does anything. And government relies on the credibility and the goodwill of the good people of Ghana to even assess borrowing. So we have to remain accountable to the people. And so we cannot just put the thing together and let it be the exclusive preserve of a few people to have access to. But how can we make it easily available? That is why we decided to come up with this tracker.
So it wasn't as if you were aiming at the Green Book?
Oh, not at all.
Because the fabled Green Book, I have it here.
Not at all.
You were not trying to bend the Green Book.
The position posts are quite different. Our own sense was that let's make things available. Let's enhance the whole issue of transparency and give the Ghanaian people a chance to also assess us. Because sometimes if I come to sit on this show and I say that we built 8 schools, we built 5 schools, we've done this here, done that, I say it in passing and I leave.
Yes.
It is not every Ghanaian that has the opportunity to watch us as we are doing this program. But when I have left and gone out of this show, how would that person be able to have access to that?
I want to deal with the 4 things. So the first thing Dr. Bawumia says, this government has done more in 3.5 years than any other government in comparison. He said that.
Yes, so we didn't say that in vacuum. We say that based on the evidence and based on the facts that we have. And we have put out what we think represent the superior performance of any government in the first term, so insofar as infrastructure records are concerned. We have made it available. We did not hide it. It's a challenge somehow, latently. If there is any previous government or anybody at all that feels that what we are saying is not true and in comparative terms stands a better position to produce results that appear more convincing and robust than the argument we are making, we welcome it, and we want that to be shown so that Ghanaian people can also assess it. So bring out...
So it's not as if you took every previous government's first term and compared. You took your first term and put it out.
Exactly.
And then you made a claim that you are the best. Anybody who challenges, who thinks you don't agree, should come and challenge.
Come and challenge it, and come and challenge it by also showing us what we have.
Is it that you didn't have data on previous governments 3.5 years, or it's difficult to get?
Oh,
so you could have said, let's take NDC 2000 and whatever 3 years, and then compare, instead of just telling us MPP and leaving everybody else.
Well, we didn't think it was worthwhile spending that energy doing that kind of work.
Okay.
Ghanaians had given us a mandate, and the mandate is to deliver to them. Whilst we are delivering, we need to, along the line, tell them what we have done. We have done that, and based on our own assessment, we think our record is second to none.
Fantastic.
If anybody has contrary record, first term of any government, show it.
So I'm going to structure the discussion along those 4 themes. I think it makes sense. Sure. First claim, this government's 3.5 years, the infrastructure beats everybody else. We'll deal with that. Second one, we'll deal with value for money. Third one, we'll deal with continuing NDC projects. And then we'll talk about the value of this as a treasure trove for information. So, Felix, what's your response to the claim that if you limit to a first term of a government, the 17,000 projects that they list on the website is unprecedented?
Well, that is simply not true. I will tell you up front. But before I come to that, let me make some preliminary comments. It is obvious that Dr. Bawumia did this under duress because the NPP has come under intense pressure and scrutiny from sections of the public who look at the amount of resources that we estimate to be around 300 billion Ghana cedis in the last 3.5 years, say 4 years, and who have not seen commensurate levels of capital investment compared to the NDC, who Dr. Bawumia says in 8 years had 248 billion. That can show, sector by sector, unprecedented levels of capital investment. They also see that people increasingly give plaudits to President Mahama and the NDC, and they find that an existential threat in terms of their chances towards the elections. So they then felt compelled to go and do this with a view to chipping away at the plaudits and commendation that the NDC was getting, and at the same time show that they are doing something. Staggeringly enough, rather than stick to what they have done and show that it measures up to expectation, they make very bewildering claims. Indeed, Dr. Bawumia did not just say that this was the best performance of any first-term government. He actually went as far as saying that it is better than our 8-year performance. Indeed, he's not the only one who has said that. President Akufo-Addo has said it. Multiple people in the NPP have said it. Now, you see, it is bad enough for them to attempt to compare themselves to President Mahama, who, I must tell you, would eviscerate the NPP, Nanado, sector by sector. And if you give me the opportunity, I'll prove it to you with facts in terms of capital investments. But it will get completely funereal for them if they say that they have done more in 4 years than the NDC 8 years. It is simply not true. And let me demonstrate it to you with the greatest respect, with your indulgence. Look, when you come to education, the table that they provide, at all levels put together, they say that they have a total of 2,254 projects, out of which they've completed 1,025. That is all levels of education put together. They say they are working on 3 secondary schools. That's what the table says, out of which they completed 1. And they speak about technical education. There's nothing for universities because they have none. Now, when you come to the NDC, at the basic level alone, when you take kindergarten blocks, we have 1,375 kindergarten school blocks. Now, I see that you are checking the Green Book, but actually the book you should go for is this one. This is what we call the Education Green Book. They have their own publication.
Oh, you have an Education Green
Absolutely,
Book?
Filled with facts and figures.
So you have
and
sectoral
pictures.
Green Books?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, when you come...
So this is not here?
Yeah, it's not here.
Okay.
Now, when you come to the basic level, since 2010, when the Schools and Archeries project began, a total of 2,931 classroom blocks were initiated, out of which 2,031 were completed. When you come to the secondary school level, over 1,000 school projects, classroom blocks were completed. There are about 1,500 more other projects, but I'll focus just on school blocks. And about 180 dormitories. When you put this together, you inch close to 5,000 separate school blocks.
Within which period?
Between 2010 and 2016. I've done this just to show the fully.
But why don't you limit
but
it?
I'm doing it because of what they have said. If you limit it to President Mahama, we have close to 3,000 of such projects at all levels. Again, look at secondary schools, for instance. And I'm talking schools, not classroom blocks. In the video that you showed.
Sorry, just to be clear.
Okay.
When I went to education on the tracker, they have 2,700 in total.
Yes.
1,253 completed,
Yes.
1,447 ongoing. Gideon, I am on the tracker, so
Okay.
my guys can
All
show
right.
it. You are saying that between 20...
10.
I want you to do Mahama as
Oh,
president.
I'll do, but there's no difficulty with Mahama. I'll give
because
you the figure.
the framework is 3.5
Over
years.
3,500 for Mahama. Now, I'll give you
these
the
are,
breakdown.
I'm just infrastructure of all types or just
Of all
schools?
types, from KG. No, I'm talking about classroom blocks.
Classroom blocks.
I'm not adding infrastructure of all types. I'm talking about KG basic school.
Where can I find that?
Oh, we have the figures. Indeed, there's a very
Can
voluminous.
you hand me the book while you're talking?
Well, there's a very voluminous. Oh, but I'll use it for my analysis.
I'll
too,
give
so
it
I
back
need
to you. I just
There's
want
a
to be
very
sure.
voluminous book from Get Fund and the Ministry of Education that contains the exact location everywhere. We have not done a tracker. You don't need to do a tracker to be able to show where the projects are. It's just clear. Now, when you come to secondary schools alone, they say they are working on 3.
Yes.
And that they've completed 1. That's what the table says. Now, we at least completed 46 senior secondary schools or senior high schools, if you like. 46, not 3. When you come to tertiary education, President Mills had 2 universities, University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani, and then the University of Health and Allied Sciences at Sokode in the Volta region. Now, President Mahama has the University of Environment and
So let
Sustainable
me
Development.
just search in terms. I'm
All right,
just
go
reading
ahead.
something.
All
Ministry of
right.
Education book, page 68, school infrastructure.
Sure.
As part of efforts to remove the remaining 6% of schools under trees, a total of 2,031 out of 2,936 schools projects were awarded since 2010,
Sure.
is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
In addition, the ministry and its partners have since 2013, this is Mahama, completed the following projects: 1,129 classroom blocks, this is basic.
This is basic,
739 toilet blocks, 73 teacher accommodation blocks, 472 urinals,
Sure.
622 schools. Okay, so your schools blocks are 1,129.
Just for
primary.
Primary.
This
yes.
is primary. Good.
Yeah.
So this is the page.
This is
Page
the page.
68. People can check.
Yeah, so if I can have it for my continuation.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So that is it. Again, if you come to something like airports, aviation, they say that President Akufo-Addo's biggest contribution to the sector is 90% completion rate of phase 2 and phase 3 of the Kumasi airport. And then the expansion of the Sunyani airport. And then phase 2 of Tamale. Now, to set the record straight, the Kumasi airport, phase 1 and phase 2 are President Mahama's projects. Phase 1 costs 24 million, phase 2 is 65 million. But phase 2 and phase 3 are fused together. Phase 3 allows air bridges and other things to be installed. So even there, President Mahama takes the lion's share because of his share contribution. In addition to that, President Mahama has the ultra-modern Terminal 3, which is a 5 million passenger a year terminal, world class. One of the best in Africa at the moment, the best certainly in West Africa. In addition to that, he has a brand new airport at Ho. In addition to that, he has a modern arrival hall in Terminal 2, which rivals anyone.
All done within which
all
period?
done within his 4-year period.
Started and ended,
Of course. You see, the fact is that for purpose of analysis, it is the government that finds the money that takes credit. It is the reason why, despite the fact that the N1 project basically was entirely executed under Mills, President Kufuor takes credit. It is the reason why you will recall that the Gang of 4 routes, Dr. Dufour, as finance minister, had to find $200 million to complete it because it was not funded. But President Kufuor takes credit.
So you're saying
Yes.
that it's the government
that finds the money,
not the government that builds and
because
finishes.
you see, depending on how the deal is structured, once you find the money and give it to the contractor, you execute it. You are bound by contractual agreements.
Really?
Now, the MPP, they take credit for Bui Dam. President Kufuor left $700 million for Bui. I'm sure that about 80% or so of the construction took place under Mills and Mahama, but President Kufuor took it. It is the reason why when President Mahama was going to commission it, he took President Kufuor along.
Okay.
President Mills took him along when he was going to commission the N1 interchange. So that point must be made clear. Indeed, recently, President Akufo-Addo has sent a number of financial agreements to Parliament to be passed for some hospitals. If the monies ever come and the projects are executed, irrespective of whichever government is in power, he will take the credit. So the clear lines must be drawn. Now, if you look at transport, what we call maritime, which deals with ports, the biggest investment to date in the transport sector, at least under the Fourth Republic, is the MPS terminal. Over $1 billion sunk into that. It has made that port the second biggest in West Africa. In addition to that, President Mahama has the Takoradi expansion project, 300 million euros. In addition to that, he has the Albert Bosom Sam fishing harbour, $54 million from the Japanese government, and a number of others that I can go on. On the basis of this, there's absolutely no basis on which the MPP can claim that they have a superior record. So the last one is water.
I'm coming. So in education, you've shown me the projects compared to MPP.
Exactly.
On aviation, you mentioned the airports clearly higher than.
Exactly.
You did mention a third category which we didn't compare the MPP. Before you came to the last one you're mentioning. So you did aviation.
I've done aviation, I've done education.
Yes.
I can do health if you want. I can do water if you want.
Talk to me about health.
Again, I'm speaking to a document that they presented.
Yes.
Yesterday, apparently the highest achievement of President Akufo-Addo in health is 435 or so CHIPS compounds, out of which he says he has completed about 285. We have 1,600 CHIPS compounds.
Okay.
We have 22 polyclinics. President Akufo-Addo apparently has 2. We have 14 district hospitals. President Akufo-Addo has 1, and even that one, it is only today that he cut short in Shama, and that point is important. When we come to the issue of value for money, I'll use it to demonstrate
about initiation of projects.
Oh no, I don't have a difficulty. Yeah. Once he has found the money, it is his. I don't have a difficulty, but I'm saying that one is actually what they cut short for in Shama today. And when we come to the issue of value for money, I'll use it to demonstrate the deception
again
of the
for viewers, when I go on the tracker, health infrastructure, 673 projects in total. 378 completed, 295 ongoing. Then the projects are given, they are quite many. So 673.
Chips, compounds and what have you.
Yes, so they are a mix of projects. So you put them together, 673.
Exactly.
You are saying, again, are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mahama, not.
Yes, Mahama. You are saying
for
that.
the clinics, he has regional hospitals to show, He has to show. He has University of Ghana Medical Center to show. And a host of others. He has institutional hospitals, International Maritime Hospital. He has a bank hospital to show. President Akufo-Addo has none of these to show. He has CHIPS compounds, 1 district hospital, 2 polyclinics,
so
and a number of...
So Bank of Ghana Hospital, the Maritime Hospital, where they started under Mahama?
Absolutely. Maritime Hospital started in 2013. The Bank of Ghana Hospital around the same 2014. But they are institutional hospitals. Now, to the extent that...
So even if funding didn't come from central government... let me ask the question.
Absolutely. It's a state institution. It is a state institution.
It's a state institution that starts the project...
The government already takes credit.
You take the credit.
The same way people blame President Mahama for the banking sector crisis, even though the Bank of Ghana is supposed to be independent. So you cannot approbate and reprobate. Okay. He cannot be responsible for supposedly bad things that happen
and not be,
and not be responsible for good things.
I think so, you give me some good sectors.
Absolutely. And then finally water.
Yes, water. Because
of the shared volume of projects, I will use the percentages and the total volume of water produced.
Okay.
In 2001, let me come to 2009 because it's pretty close. That's when President Akufo left office.
Yes.
Water production was at 56% for urban population, 41% for rural population. Now, by 2016, it had gone to 76%.
If rural or urban water? Average?
Both rural and urban, 76. Now, if you put it together, that is a jump from 56 to 76, about 20%. Now, the numbers there show that at least we added 102.7 million gallons of water a day production capacity through the POM project, through the tertiary desalination project, in Sawan water project, the 5 towns water project, and a host of others that I cannot mention because of time constraints. The MPP simply cannot match this. So when Dr. Bawumia stands on a platform and says that they have done what no government has done, it is simply not true. Factually, it is simply not true.
Okay.
So that's the point.
So on the water one, you chose to use the percentage of coverage.
Because the projects are many.
Yes.
And if you like, I can mention them for you.
I don't know. I'm just trying to make it people easy. So education, you did comparison project for project.
Absolutely.
On aviation, you did the same. But for water, you're saying that let's look at coverage. Because that's the end result.
I can do the projects for you.
If because they have 5,505.
But you see, that's where and the reason why I use those is to show you about the total impact of those projects. For instance, I've seen a number of water tanks some solitary tank sitting in some corner that is described as a, water project. Indeed, Gideon can provide the total number of people who benefit from water provision under them, or what they've added. I can say that between 2009 and 2016, an additional 7 million Ghanaians were given access to water. For instance, if you take the Pond Water Project, for instance, it is a 40 million gallon a day water production facility.
Okay.
It serves about 700,000 people who live in the northeastern part of Accra and parts of the eastern region. A total of 80 different communities, including very remote rural communities. So you put a water pumping station at Pond. It reaches 700,000 people. So you will not need to go and put about 200 or 300 water tanks in corners. You see, so it doesn't matter the number of polytanks that you have that you count.
I think that's fair. Gideon,
but it is about the scope.
Fantastic. Gideon, you are an economist, so you appreciate an outcome over output approach, which is saying that don't tell me how many polytanks you have. Tell me what percentage of people have access to the water, which is what he's doing with the water one. But he's basically giving facts to debunk some of the claims made in education, health, aviation, and also water. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I think it's a good exercise. But what is important is that whatever we say as having been done by us as a government or them, there should be some level of commitment to ensure that people can verify. Because it's so easy to sit on this platform and bandy around figures and then say, I did this, I did that. And that has been the refrain for so long a time. Yet, the channel for verification of the things our colleagues in the NDC talk about are completely lacking. Nobody have access to what they say. And so it makes it a bit difficult when you want to do proper, cogent academic exercise on matters of this nature to sort of really think through who is telling the truth. If we are unable to do that, then we are virtually engaging in an exercise that can be described as throwing dust into the eyes of the people. I'll come back to a lot of the things we are talking about. The second thing is that the argument that tell us what you did in your first term is also lost on them. And so clandestinely, Felix swerved that part of the argument and begins to talk about projects from 2010 to 2016, which doesn't even describe which term we are talking about or which presidency we are talking about. It is important in the context of the discussion on infrastructure because infrastructure development takes time. And therefore, how long one has to execute an infrastructure project to bring it to perfect completion is absolutely correlated with the level and extent of infrastructure you can have. So that argument and that point is something that we need to draw them closer for them to appreciate that indeed. Now the discussion is that President Muhammad did this, President Muhammad did that. And no reference is made to their first term. Does it mean that in their first term they didn't do anything? And if you look at all the things
Sorry,
NDC...
just to be clear. So is 2013 to 2017 a first term or a second term? How are we treating it in this program?
It is a second term of the NDC.
So we should take NDC and not Muhammad?
Because look, they are inseparable.
So are you saying then that we should compare what you are doing with what Mills did?
We should compare what President Akufo-Addo and the NPP's first term are doing with what the NDC did in their first term. And then...
So we should forget that Muhammad did with Mills.
We can extend the discussion, okay, to their 8 years or their second term, if you so wish. But it is important that if you are talking about infrastructure and building of interchanges and all of that, we should situate the argument within context. What did you do in your first term? President Akufo-Addo and NPP, they are in their first term. They come, they start, initiate projects, and they build on that project to move. Now we are talking about projects that you even started in your first term, and there were spillovers, and you are able to do that. That is fantastic, you've done it. But let us know what you did in your first term. Once we are done with that on this same platform, then we move on to the second term issue. Now I'll go ahead to tell you what President Akufo-Addo has done in his first term. They can decide to compare their second term records, and of course, we stand in a position to compare with them.
So now, just to be clear, so you're saying that you think this should be a first term versus first term?
Because we should talk about.
Why shouldn't it be a Nanado versus Mahama?
Nanado in NPP rule versus Mahama in the NDC rule. Because if you separate the two, you are just striking the difference without distinction. Okay?
Before you continue, just what's your quick thought on that? Not a substantive point, just a quick thought on that.
With a greater respect to my friend.
Can you do that?
First of all, listen, I have no difficulty.
Try.
No, you see, let me lie, please. I have no difficulty telling you what President Mahama did in his first term. The reason why President Mahama is eligible to contest again is that he did one term, first term. He was not the president of Ghana between 2009 and 2012. His face was never on a ballot paper in 2008.
It's okay.
No.
I want him to just make the point. I'll come
Again, you see, they are oscillating. And when you box them into a corner, they give you different arguments from different sides of their mouths. In one breath, they say it is a comparison between the records of President Akufo-Addo and President Mahama. They said this is what the election is about. Gabi Ochedaku says manifestos don't even matter anymore. It is a comparison of records between President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo. When can you assess President Mahama on his record? When he became president. That is when you can assess him on his record. Because the previous time, he was not somebody's number two. He essentially was working at the pleasure of his boss, number one. 3, when he sues them also, they actually say, and Dr. Bawumia said it at the forum yesterday, that they have done more in 4 years than the 8 years of the NDC.
Can I go?
So, yes. Depending on where
you put them, reject the argument.
I reject, and again, I'll give you all the time. Look, again, nobody is guaranteed a second term. When you are elected for a specific period.
Okay.
When President Akufo-Addo came to the people of Ghana, he came with a manifesto that spanned a 4-year tenure.
Fair enough. I need to make an announcement.
That point must be made.
We are going up till 10:30, so we have a bit of time. That's why I'm stretching it. So please, I'll let Gideon make a substantive point, and then I'll take a break. This is the point of view. My guest, Felix Kwabena Fosu, a former Deputy Minister of Communication, which ministry produced the Green Book, I should say, and Gideon Boakun, who is the spokesperson, Dr. Gideon Boakun, spokesperson and Vice President, whose team are working on this. So you've said you think we should do first term versus first term, but deal with the substantive points around.
So the argument is clear that Felix and the NDC believe in their first term. They didn't do anything substantial. They didn't. Otherwise, he could easily produce it. They have nothing to show. For all the projects they are talking about, projects they did in their second term, they have nothing to show for their first term. That settles that argument. Now, what President Akufo-Addo has done in his first term, I was shocked when I listened to Felix say they have done 100 schools.
Primary schools, 1,700.
Why did he limit it to primary schools? That is all they have. No. You should tell us what they have. Okay?
When you finish.
So please, that is all they have. Of course. He will come back and say figures, but we don't have any way to verify that. That is all they have. We are talking about over 2,000 schools, school blocks. In 3.5 years, you in 8 years, you are talking about 1,000.
No, he actually said primary. The secondary school is also there.
Look, he should tell us. Why didn't he tell us and limited himself to primary?
No, he said it.
I told you about KG. I told you about primary. I told you about secondary school. You were not listening.
No, I just need to he did that. So I opened the primary page. There was a secondary school page.
Now, what did he say?
So you didn't hear.
That is it. Now we are saying that in 3.5 years, okay, we have executed over 17,000 projects and completed 8,700. We provided the evidence. In 3.5 years. Okay, this is what we have been able to do. If we break it down, in terms of agriculture infrastructure, we've done 542, we've completed 403. In terms of education, we are around 2,699, we've completed 1,253. In energy infrastructure, 3,844, we've completed 2,824. In health, 673, we've completed 378. And the list goes on and goes on and on and on like that. Whilst we are doing all this, we are also saying that we understand and appreciate the fact that government is continuing. And therefore, whatever we inherited from the NDC, we also must make efforts to work on them and complete. The e-blocks that they started, in their whole period, they were able to complete 29. We have completed 27 of the E blocks.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, they completed 29 of the E blocks. This government, President Akufo-Addo's government, has completed 27 of that. That is what we have done.
29 versus 27.
29 versus 27 in 3.5 years. And this
How
is
long did it take you to do those 29?
Again, it is not true that we completed 29. In fact, the most authoritative voice on that matter is the Minister of Education. He is on record to have said that we completed 46. And I know for a fact,
Napu?
yes, I know for a fact that we completed 46 because I have pictures and videos of all of them. I was at the commissioning
Okay.
of these projects. So you see, please,
Bernard,
when your vice president,
please,
who doesn't manage the education sector, but is the recipient of secondary information from the education minister, says something about education, and the Minister of Education, who supervises that sector, says something, I'm inclined to take the Minister of Education.
We can check Napu right now.
But I'm telling you, on my own.
Please,
see, what I do is that I allow
no problem.
You see,
Napu to
time
his main
and
point.
context is of
I'm just
essence.
going to Napu right
Time and context is of essence. The time the Minister of Education said that, he was referring to your handing over notes that you had left him. And you had indicated 46. In reality, it was 29. Go to the Minister of Education's website and see what you see there today. In reality, it's 29. President Akufo-Addo has completed 27 of that for you. Now he was talking about health. In 3.5 years, we have started 429 CHIPS compounds, completed 243. In terms of clinics, completed 23 clinics, 36 maternity blocks, 4 polyclinics, and 68 staff accommodation. Okay? In just 3.5 years. And these are not things that we talk about and we leave them in the air and we hide them. We put them on the internet.
Okay.
If anybody has contrary figure, go and challenge it.
We'll take a short break. This is the point of view. Anas, you were saying something. I'll come to you. We will try and also bring some of the evidence we have gathered to corroborate or check some of the points that have been made. But we're going till 8:30. We'll take a short break. We're having the big infrastructure debate. Stay with us. Welcome back to the point of view. So we're trying to clarify some points. We're discussing infrastructure. I set 4 frameworks. The first thing was NDC, the MPP Vice President Bawumia says the 3.5 years of Akufo-Addo is unprecedented in terms of infrastructure. We are debating that. Second point was about value for money. For the sake of the record, I have a story here on Graphic Online. NDC built only 46 community day SHS Opoku Prempeh, and for the purpose, this story is March 7, 2017. Enoch Dafa Frimpong. Only 46 out of the 200 planned community day senior high school projects initiated by the NDC have been completed, the Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, said. In a radio interview on Asempa FM on Monday, after the new sector minister said, even with the 46 completed ones, not all of them are in use. Now, Doc, I think this clarifies that it is 46 and not 20. What did you say? You said 29.
Is it 29?
This story is on Graphic Online. We just found it.
No,
so unless the minister
I was talking about the time.
He said this is 7th March 2017.
That was when the minister was referring to the NDC's handing over notes. This is what he saw at the time. Now later on, the reality was that it was not 46. Let me give you the details. Under the secondary this is Ministry of Education. This is Ministry of Education Infrastructure
2017.
2017 to 2013. This is the Ministry of Education's document.
Yes, please.
Under the Secondary Education Improvement Project, SIP, they awarded 23 contracts, completed 7. The Government of Ghana Phase 1, 50, completed 22. Government of Ghana Phase 2, 51, completed none. If we add everything together, this is the Ministry of Education since 29. 29. Okay,
so 21 plus 8.
At the time the Minister of Education, Dr. Opoku Prempeh, spoke in 2017, that was what had been written in the handing over notes of the NDC.
Okay, so Felix, just to be fair, Secondary Education Improvement Project, number of contracts 23, completed by 2016 is 1. Government of Ghana, GOG phase 1, number of contracts 50, completed 22. Government of Ghana phase 2, 51, 0. So if you put 22 and 7, you have 29, which is what he's saying. And 2017 to 2019 is the 27.
First of all,
so this is also for your record.
First of all,
so it's there.
It is a post facto rationalization.
What is post facto rationalization?
Let me make the point. I am telling you for a fact, Bernard, that I was in charge of coordinating government information.
So we should believe.
I have pictures, videos, because every time a project was completed, I took pictures. It is how come I have pictures of all the projects in all sectors. So it was on that basis, the evidence on the ground, that we put it in our handing over notes. The NPP comes to power and arrogates to itself the right to decide which project is completed or not for partisan reasons. It is why when he came to me, the official handing over notes, he was confident enough to go and speak. But I don't even need Napo to tell me how many we completed, because I have the evidence of that.
Man,
but you say, no, please, allow me to speak.
Can I look at this?
So if you go and put,
whose document this is?
First of all,
so who did this?
Which year is this?
2017.
So in the same 2017, he says 46.
No, this is 2020.
No, so this is MOE infrastructure 2017 to 2020.
Absolutely, but I'm saying that the same Minister of Education.
Yeah, but if you quote Napo, now we are quoting his document, you should take the document.
Yes, I take it, but I told you in addition to what Napo said, that I mean the government of the day that I worked for has records of it. We have
46
documentary and video evidence of it.
Where can I find that?
I can send them to you, each one labeled. I can send them to you without.
Is it on any website?
No, but we have, you see, the green book that we did. Yeah. We had a database of all the projects. We just decided which ones to show for brevity purposes. So I'm telling you, I can send you those pictures. You can show it
to
your...
That's a diversionary question.
Yeah, but I've sent you a number of pictures of the projects. Yes, absolutely.
Are you kicking yourself for not doing the type of website you've done?
You see, you
because this is
listen to me.
More accessible, isn't it?
First of all, I have seen in this document an uncompleted, unplastered, solitary toilet. We will never put that in any database of our projects because we don't consider it significant enough to show. When we did the Green Book, we selected just 3 from each district because of the sheer volume of projects and the fact that it is not everything that is on the ground there that warrants showcasing at the national level.
But let me ask, is project reporting a question of finished projects or status?
No, it is status. You can do a status report.
Accountability, you can
do status report. I'm saying that every ministry has records of that. When we want to highlight what government has done, we decide which ones are worthy to show to the public.
Okay.
So we don't need to have it done the same way they've done it in order to
because I was going to ask you why your district had only 3 projects.
We're never going to be able to put the thousands of projects done at this level in this book.
So the 3 is just
it's just 3 per district. The summary. We chose a sample.
So go on.
Absolutely. So the question about how many projects was completed must be laid to rest. It is not Napo who will tell us, but I only highlighted that to show them. No, please let me make my point. You see, it is not Napo.
Please, I'm coming. Initially, you were quoting Napo.
Yes, but I added
now you are changing the goalposts. To say that it is not Napo who will tell you because I caught you barefooted. Okay, Bernard, the point. Just a second.
Bernard, when I finish please. Bernard,
all that you are talking about. Allow interjection briefly. I'll give you a fantastic point. Just a quick interjection.
The ridiculous thing is that all the things he's saying here, nobody has the chance to verify.
How? You see, it's one of the points that I've noted.
Nobody has the chance to verify.
Let him react to that point.
And then you want us to believe we are on verifiable statements.
You've made that point already.
Against
that
I
thought you were going to interject on a new point.
That's fine.
He's dealing with that issue.
After I spoke about Napo, I told you that I have records of what we did.
Yes.
In every sector. So we don't.
Gideon, I beg. We are not interjecting.
We didn't need Napo to tell us that. Again, when you tell me that the projects we've done, we cannot verify. You see, it is just like what the president did when he went to commission the Tema interchange and said that the Green Book is filled with artist impressions. It is either you do not have respect for the people of Ghana or you suffer willful ignorance. I have mentioned to you specific projects. I have mentioned the Pond Water project. Is it not visible? Who doesn't know that it exists at Pond? The Terminal 3. Who doesn't know that it exists at Kutuka? Who doesn't know that President Obama did the first phase of the Tamale interchange? The Tamale airport project. So where is this claim from that nobody can verify what we did? We have not gone to do a website. It is not only a website that you use to show that you have done the project. Why? As I speak to you, there's an ICT center we built in Abakrampa, the biggest ICT center in the district at AAK. which we did in 2016. We captured it in our book, but we have not shown the website for it. Everybody knows it exists. Okay. So even as for the NPP, even when the things are clear, they still dispute it. Why? During the COVID pandemic, President Akufo-Addo went to inspect the radio hospital and Terminal 3. Yet, about 3 weeks later, he was standing at Tema Interchange saying that all the things in the Green Book are fantasy and artist impressions, when he has seen them. So this dispute that he is mounting is reminiscent of the kind of politics they've been playing. Everything I've told you here is verifiable. And when President Akufo-Addo presented himself, he was slaughtered because we were able to prove beyond doubt that they exist. Again, let me address a number of issues that he raised. He claims that these days we don't mention President Mills. Meanwhile, only a few minutes ago, I pointed you to what we had begun to do in 2010. That's when the Schools and Trees program started. So it is not true. Yeah. 2, President Mills has for himself 2 green books in which we capture the things that he did. He was the one who started the Schools and Trees project. President Mills has the best economic management record of any president under the 4th Republic. And you know the figures. He has the highest tonnage of cocoa production of 1 million, which has never been matched by any president of this country. So there's so much that goes for him. Why? Where did he earn the babies to sharp teeth tag from? Was it not from a robust defense of President Mills? So what is this claim that when did the NPP suddenly develop love for President Mills? Are they the ones to tell us what to project about the money? So please,
I think there was a point about some sort of contradiction between something you had said earlier about people who finish projects taking credit versus people who start them. You need to clarify that because, and I need to say this to viewers, that both panelists gave me things I should show on the program. So I have lots of documents. Dr. Boaku presented a video of you on Asempa FM. It's like a minute. I want to play that video for you to react to since you are reacting.
No problem.
So this is a video Dr. Boaku sent that he wants us to play for Mr. Felix to respond. I don't know when he did this interview. I don't know.
About 2 months ago.
July also.
July. Okay. Yeah. Let's have it.
When we sought cuts for the project, because before saw the cuts, some processes might have started. Somebody would have engaged the Israelis and all of that.
Cutting is a mere ceremony. Why?
With no intent, no
but intent is not the same as building it. So when you go to the health ministry, they have a tall list of projects on Besomoye, but because family ni ho.
Okay.
Into where you buy now, it is the one that does it that gets the credit. The fact that plan why roads, there actually roads are you demarcate, but we call not a bush. But they are two. Upon said that should be a miskaba.
So why do you want me to play this video?
You know, he is talking about in this video. He's saying that the person who executes the job is the one who has to be credited. You can have, it's not the person who had the intent, but earlier on this same platform, he has said, please, can you let me talk? Can we all listen to you?
Sure.
Your earlier argument here is that the person who found the money, and maybe didn't win the elections, is the one who must be credited, not the one who came to execute the job.
So what he's saying here is not what he said there.
It's contradictory. These are the people we are dealing with.
You go and cut a minute clip from about an hour submission, and it is for mischievous purposes. I gave him, he spoke about shortcutting.
Yes.
He says that President
was he on that program with you?
No, he was not. It was
all over.
I told him that shortcutting is a mere ceremony.
Okay.
It does not mean that the project will take place. Indeed, on that show, I gave him 2 examples. I gave him the CNTCI project, where President Kufuor stood in the midst of a public gathering and said $1 billion was coming. We went to Parliament. We actually paid money. We sent delegations to China to look for the money. It never came. I gave him the example also of STS, where President Mills went to the police depot to cut short in the hope that a sovereign guarantee we are giving to the group will yield money. It didn't materialize. So the short cutting on its own does not make you the one who executes it, but the one who does it, i.e., the one who finds the money to get it done. That's what I said.
That's what you're saying here.
But listen, at the tail end, I said, Nipa Onyesikano. That's what I said.
Oh, no.
But you see, no, it's better, please. You see, one of the things that you do is that you are critical. So when you take a minute clip,
that's not fair.
It's not fair. You must listen to the context. First of all, you didn't even hear the question that the presenter asked me.
No, but Bernard,
I have spoken about shortcutting. And you see, the problem. No, I'm on the floor. The problem with the MPP is that even their leaders, the same thing that their propagandists do is what they do.
But let me just ask you: are you? Isn't it, to be fair here? You said the person who finds the
money.
But he does it. Yes. Finding the money is the source. Yes, but in the clip at the end, you said the person who finishes.
No.
Is that what
I said? It's true. Nipa Unyesikano.
No, fellas. To be honest with you, that is not what.
Please.
You see, listen, if I'm permitted to speak the truth.
I just wanted to be... I don't say that. Let me play it just to be clear at the end.
You play it.
Because we want to be clear.
I can give you the full clip to play.
I also need to admit that a 1 minute clip cannot be... But I want to be clear what you said at the end.
Absolutely.
Because that's fundamentally the argument you are making.
Go ahead to the end. Yeah.
Just to be clear.
When we have sought cuts for the project, because before sought is cuts, some processes might have started. Somebody would have engaged the Israelis and all of that.
Cutting is a mere ceremony. Why?
With no intent, no
but intent is not the same as building it. When you go to the health ministry, they have a tall list of projects on Besomoye, but because Famikoni ni ho.
Okay.
It's where you buy now, it is the one that does it that gets the credit. The fact that plan, why roads, they actually roads are you demarcate, but over corner a bush. But they are two, upon said that should be a miscaba. Yes, can
yeah, or say Famikoni ni ho.
The person who comes to do it.
Okay, it's okay. We are. It's okay. I think it's clear. The second issue I wanted us to take for want of time.
Sure.
Bawumia says there's more value for money for NPP than NDC. And the speech is classic. Please take me back to that video because it will be a good foundation for the discussion.
Sure.
He showed you 4 interchanges MPP for 289 million, 1 section interchange for 260 million. Let's hear him and we'll react to that.
So there's been a lot of road construction taking place across the country in the urban areas. We've got 589 kilometers of asphaltic overlay and rehabilitating 143 kilometers, reconstructing 97 kilometers. We are also constructing 4 state-of-the-art interchanges. We have the Tema interchange, where the loan, the sword cutting, and the completion were executed by this government. We have the Tamale interchange under the Sino-Hydro program. This is the first ever interchange in the 5 northern regions of Ghana, and it's at 44% completion. Then we have the Pokuase interchange. This is a 4-tier interchange in West Africa. It's the first 4-tier interchange in West Africa. The first. That's the Pokuase interchange. The loan agreement for this project was signed in November 2016 for a 3-tier interchange. When we came into office, we looked at it from a value for money perspective, renegotiated it for a 4-tier interchange for the same amount of money. For the same amount of money. We have the Obechebi-Lamte interchange, which is 55% complete. And I just cut the sword for the construction of the Nungwa interchange, which is yet to really start. But this is the highest number of interchanges, that is 5, that are being constructed in the first term of any government since independence. This is the highest number. But we are not finished. A 6th interchange, the PTC interchange in Takoradi, which will be the first interchange in the Western region, we will cut the sword next month for the start of that work under the Sino-Hydro project. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that the cost of the Tamale, Pokuase, and Obechebi-Lamte interchanges is $289 million. 4 interchanges. Together, $289 million. While the cost of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange was contracted at $260 million.
So that was Dr. Bawumia. We are dealing with value for money. Felix, I want to go with you to react to this because he's spoken clearly.
Before I come to that, let me expose the duplicity in Dr. Bawumia's positions. You recall that last year, he said at a conference that building a district hospital for $25 million was too much and that it was inflated. You remember that?
The value for money conference.
Absolutely. Do you know that only today, President Akufo-Addo cut the sword for the construction of the Shaman District Hospital, which is valued at $39 million.
Wow.
Need I say more?
On district hospitals.
Need I say more? Is there somebody who should be taken seriously when he speaks about value for money? Now, let's come to the substantive matter. You see, Bernard, the Vice President is a highly enlightened person. He is believed to be an intellectual. Okay? He is. I have absolute respect for his credentials. Because of that, he is not allowed, with the greatest respect to him, to be pedestrian in his analysis.
Okay.
All that he did in this clip is to suggest that all interchanges must cost the same, irrespective of their scope and size. So, Bernard, I give you an analogy. If you buy a Mercedes-Benz S-Class today, there are some of them that cost as much as $150,000, depending on the spec. It should cost you the same as when you buy 4 Toyota Corollas.
Okay.
Irrespective of the fact that they are different vehicles.
Okay.
That is what Dr. Bawumia sought to say. First, what we expect an intellectual to do is to look at the scope of work of each project. If they are the same and the prices vary widely, then there's a basis to say that there's no value for money. Now let me give you, I have taken the trouble to look for the scope of each project.
Okay.
So I'll give you the scope of 4.
Very helpful.
So that you draw your conclusions. First of all,
good.
What we call the Kwame Nkrumah interchange is actually, officially, 2 separate interchanges fused together.
Okay.
There's what we call the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, which actually consists of 2 bridges called the Akasanoma Bridge and the Nsawam Bridge.
Okay.
And then 3 bridges over the Odo River, which makes it possible for vehicles that are in stations to move across the river. In addition to that are some auxiliary projects, roads that are to be constructed.
Okay.
That is the first part of the interchange. The second part is the Ring Road flyover. And I've used the discipline.
Okay.
Bernard, that is the biggest road bridge in Ghana. It also makes the Kwame Nkrumah interchange the biggest interchange in Ghana.
The one that goes on top.
Absolutely.
From the Kaneshie all the way to...
Now, if you put the length of all the bridges, in this particular bridge that I've told you about, the flyover, its length is 1.2 kilometers or 1,200 meters. When you put it together with the loop, you know there's a circular road that joins the Nsawam Bridge to the flyover. That alone is 290 meters. Now, when you put that together with the 2 bridges, Akasanoma and Nsawam, it gives you a total of 2,795 meters of bridges.
Okay.
Now, it is not just the bridges. In order for a bridge to be constructed that way, they sink what they call piles. The piles are made up of metals that hold the foundation so that they make it strong and firm. To do the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, they had to sink 40,000 meters of piles.
Okay.
In addition to this, 2 terminals, bus terminals, were constructed at Odona and Newplant Station.
All part of the project?
Absolutely. There was a Kwame Nkrumah water park. There's a police station. There's a fire station that has an ambulance.
Wow.
There are roads that lead from the Faroyo Road. That is between Ghana Times, the Ghana Times Junction to TV Africa. It's a dual carriage road.
Yeah.
There's a road that passes in front of Mechanical Lloyd.
So when you say circle interchange, it includes all of this?
It includes all of this.
Wow.
And I'm putting it on record that based on the dimensions, it is the largest interchange in Ghana today. That bridge, that flyover, is the biggest bridge, but it's the second longest in West Africa.
Okay.
After one in Lagos. Now, let's come to the Obeche-Villamte bridge. And let me indicate that the construction type of this particular bridge is what they call composite steel.
Okay.
That is what forms the base of the asphalt. Again, the technology used was such that it hastened the process so that the traffic congestion whilst construction is going on does not become too much and too inconveniencing for people. And we all know that that intersection is the busiest intersection in Ghana prior, or was the busiest intersection in Ghana prior to this.
Traffic,
so that these are the specifications.
Do you have comparable specifications for the other projects?
Now let me come to Obeche-Villamte. Obeche-Villamte has just 2 bridges. And they all add up to 1,120 meters, or like 1.120 kilometers. It has a part foundation. They don't use what do you call it, piles. Now the Tamale interchange is all concrete. There's no metal. It's not composite steel. Its total length is 840 meters. Now The Pokwasi interchange
840. Sorry, as
840
against
meters.
because you said yours is 2,000.
Yeah, the Kwame Nkrumah interchange is 2,795. So it's like 2.795 kilometers.
And the Tamale is how much?
840 meters.
Okay.
It's not.
And it's
under
pure
a
concrete,
kilometer.
no
It's called
steel.
No steel.
Okay.
Now the Pokwasi interchange is 2,319.5 meters. So it's like 2.319 kilometers.
That's pretty large.
But it has only 7,000 meters of power sunk compared to
As against-
40,000.
Okay.
In the Kwame Nkrumah
7,000
interchange.
meters of power sunk as against
Absolutely.
40,000.
And there's
Fair
no ancillary project like the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. You understand me?
Quick
So-
diversionary point.
Sure.
He said that they had negotiated it to be 4
I was
tier.
coming to that.
Is
Again,
that true? 3 to 4.
Again, let me give you an analogy before I answer it. It is true that they did not, they redesigned it.
Redesigned it.
Look,
But cost didn't change.
Bernard, the analogy I'll give you is this. If you decide to build a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool, and later down the line, you say that, no, I don't need a swimming pool. So I'll use that money to add another room to make it a 5-bedroom. Can you say that there was no value for money? That is exactly what happened. Now, the consultant engineer on this matter, Mr. Bempom, is on record to have explained the variation.
Okay.
What he said was that the original design was such that they were going to have to do traffic management in some portions. Because they decided later to redesign it, they removed that traffic management portion from aspects of the bridge
Okay.
and then converted it to tier 4. So what they did was essentially to alter the design and
Okay.
accommodate a 4th tier. It doesn't mean that there was no value for money. So please,
So since a change of design, okay.
Absolutely.
So you
Let me-
dealt with Tamale,
Yeah.
Pokwasi,
And indeed, I also
just
have
do
the-
Tema for me. Then
I also
I'll-
have the specifications for Tema.
Yes.
The Tema has a,
So
you see,
put it together.
Tema is a depression. What they did was that they didn't do flyovers in the same sense as Kwame Nkrumah interchange. They didn't have piers that a bridge flew over. So the mind you, Kwame Nkrumah interchange is built over the Odo River. You understand me? In Tema, what they did was that they dug under the earth so that you can pass under it whilst another one passes in front. And then they have a series of interconnecting routes where the former runabout is.
Okay.
So it creates some bit of a maze. But in terms of specification, it is even smaller than Pokwasi. You understand? Now, final point before you go. You see,
Yes.
it has been the habit of Dr. Bawumia, President Akufo-Addo, and NPP spokespersons to constantly allege inflation without basis. That's why I gave you the Shaman Hospital example. It blows apart that claim. Now, Dr. Bawumia's boss is on record, you remember, as having said that the Kaswa interchange was inflated. It took his current deputy roads minister, Honorable Eduomi, to correct it, that he is a civil engineer. Apparently, he used to be the head of the Eastern Region Division of the Ghana Highways Authority. So he knows a thing or two about roads. And he said, no, we have evaluated the specifications.
Okay.
1 kilometer of
You've made a
asphalt
submission. I
is $1
agree.
million.
Mr. Buaku, was your boss doing? I mean, he's giving us specifications, which showed that the scope of the circle was pretty serious, the largest, longest. So you are doing apples and oranges. That's the argument.
So far, the specifications were given,
Yes.
but what was academically lacking was the proper cogent analysis of all the specifications and drawing conclusions. And I'm coming to do that for you to hear. You see, this whole exercise of trying to hide behind scope to justify an inflated contract beats my imagination. First and foremost, let me place on emphasis that the initial stance of the NDC that the Kwame Nkrumah circle did not cost $260 million, but rather 74 million euros, is now put in the dustbin.
Whose stance is that? Who said that?
That was, we saw
Bernard,
it all.
nobody,
All your
at least in an
communicators,
official capacity,
well,
has
I mean,
ever said
please,
that it costs
I mean,
$74 million.
all your
Nobody,
communicators on-
so I beg you, Bernard,
okay.
it's important to
You've been
establish
on
that
many
point.
programs. You are giving me different names.
all
I'm
your-
sorry.
all your
Bernard, no, before you go,
communicators-
it is important that
Oh,
that point is
fellas,
established.
let me
Who
make a
in the
point.
NDC
Let me
has
make
no
a
So you
official
are,
capacity?
okay, just to be clear, so you're saying that NDC officially says the
It is 260 million.
260.
Absolutely. There's no
So
problem.
I'm happy.
Please.
He
That's no
admits it
Please
is 260,
proceed.
not 74 million euros.
Yes.
But who has said 74 million?
Oh,
You have not
it
answered
doesn't
that.
matter. Let him just-
Bernard, let him answer that. Who said so?
Let him proceed. You don't worry. Allow. You
It
are
is
interrupting.
true. All of us sitting here are not road engineers. But of course, he has listened to some advice. I've also listened to some advice. The engineers will tell you, and I like the line of argument you went, that the primary determining factor for the cost of interchanges is the length of the bridges, as he
The
writes.
primary determining factor of the cost of an
the
interchange is the length of the bridges.
Yeah, and that is the argument he was making.
Okay.
So if you take the circle interchange and you look at it from the Calvary Church to Newtown area, it has about 171 meters of bridge. Now from Newtown to the Nkrumah Avenue, it's also 171. And then if you come to the Akasanoma, then there's one area from Vodafone area to Accra, that is Akasuma, that is about 180 meters. And then the ramps, and then the bridges over the Odo River and everything. If you put everything together, that is the 2,000 plus meters.
2007.
2007.
It's 2,795.
2007.
Or if you like 2.795 kilometers. Make it easy for yourself.
That is what he talks about.
Yes.
So that is the length of the bridges.
The bridges, yes.
For the circle interchange. And of course, admittedly, I think it is the longest of all the interchanges in the country.
It's also the widest.
So
6 lanes.
So if that is what determines the price of the interchange, and 2,000 plus length of a bridge is giving us an interchange. Of course, there are other issues like the powers that he talked about.
Give us work.
Every interchange
materials
has
used. No,
please.
But you see, I hate to do this.
Please, fine. Let me just finish.
Every interchange has ancillary works. Don't let us go. Every interchange has ancillary works. Every interchange uses materials. Okay? So 2,100 plus and other things is giving us a cost of 260 million. Then we come to the Obichibi-Lemte one. Phase 1 is around 171 million. That is, and the ramp
meters,
over 171 meters, and the ramp over and the other things almost 401. Then you come to phase 2. That also gives you something that adds up to about 1,200 meters. He mentioned that, and that is a fact. And then you bring in the the Pokuyasu one is 2,000, but I don't want to talk about
it's
the Pokuyasu.
2,319.5.
The other one is 840.
That's Tamale.
That is a Tamale one. If you add the 240 to the 1,200, Bernard, what do you get? You get 2,000 plus.
No, you say you have 240.
No, 840 plus 1,200.
2,200. That's
2,000
plus
and 40 or so. That is 2,040.
Still
which one is he talking about?
I'm talking about the
it's 6, 840. There's a bridge and then a ramp.
No, I'm coming. I'm talking about the Obichibi-Lemte. We are doing exercise. We are doing academic exercise.
Okay,
that's why I want to take my time.
No problem.
So circle interchange alone is giving you about
2,700.
2,000. Is it 700?
Yes,
2,700. And then Obichibi and Tamale giving you 2,040.
Yes.
Now let's say you add the Tema one. I don't want to add the Pokuyasu one. You add the Tema one to it, and you come to, let's say, 2,700, just as circle interchange. Meanwhile, if you add the cost of these 3 interchanges together, they don't add up to the 260 million we are talking about. I haven't come to Pokuyasu, because Pokuyasu alone has a length of over 2,300. So if the primary determining factor for the cost
that's interesting.
That is why I said you don't just throw in figures. Do proper in-depth analysis. That is academic exercise.
Felix, he has added 3 lengths.
3 lengths.
And he's close to the 2,700 that you
for the circle.
Bernard.
Please, I'm coming.
Okay, let's before. Do you agree to the premise that the primary driver of the cost of a bridge an interchange is the length of the bridge?
That is not true.
You don't agree with that premise?
See, first of all, if you allow
I'm asking because in your submission,
I don't agree to that.
Please.
I told you that what you look at is the size and scope of each project.
But you use the length of the bridge.
Yes,
Bernard.
Yes, it is the longest individual bridge.
Okay. Yeah, but when you ask the lengths...
No, I beg you, listen to what I'm saying, Bernard, please. Yeah. I told you that the Kwame Nkrumah interchange basically has 3 bridges. The 2, Akasanoma and Nsawam, are of the same length, almost 440 each.
Yeah, but you complain as 2,700 meters.
Yes, that is
yes. We are using that. He said that when you add.
But I'm telling you that. Yeah. So you need to look at 2,795 meters of what?
Of a bridge.
what bridge?
So it's a type of bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, Bernard, you see, again, let us be clear. That's why I gave you a very simple analogy.
Okay, so
I'm telling you
your
that
submission was pretty long, but I get your point. You are saying that we should just a bridge. Continue.
You see, what he opens up, and then I dig into the arguments.
You are not digging into the arguments.
Please.
All right.
Then he changes the goalpost. Everybody listening to you got the sense that your focal point for the analysis was the length of the bridge.
No, not necessarily.
And I'm telling you also, from the expert point of view, as I've been told, just as you know, that is the primary determining factor for the cost of the interchange, the length of the bridge. Now, I add the lengths of these 3 bridges together. They equate the length of the circle interchange you're talking about. Yet, the cost of these 3 bridges do not add up to the cost of the circle interchange. I haven't brought in the Pokuase one. The Pokuase interchange has the length of about 2,300.
But his argument is that there are other issues, including the materials used in the ancillary.
Absolutely. And those issues, we can delve into those ones, given the opportunity, and if we know what we're talking about.
Here, now.
But none of them also just goes like, this is a bridge, put it there and go. There are other issues that come with the construction.
But he mentioned the depth.
That is the part. That is how far you have to dig deep.
And that was very long.
That was very long for sections at 40,000 liters.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely right. The other one was 7,000. There are others that also go up. Okay, and that is what we're talking about, the Pokuase interchange. In fact, the Pokuase interchange is the first ever 4-tier interchange in West Africa, and is the second in Africa apart from South Africa. You can't just discount that. It is an interchange of good standing on its own in terms of scope and value. Now, even if I take Pokuase interchange out, and I equate circle interchange to these 3, the circle interchange still has a figure that moves far than what we're talking about here. So please, we need to admit at certain point where we feel that truly there wasn't proper and true value for money in the construction of the circle interchange. The other arguments, you remember the issue of mobile money interoperability and SIPTIS. When that NDC government,
I have a question for you though.
I'm coming. They were going to do the mobile money interoperability for $1.2 billion. This government came and so we could do it for $5 million, and truly it was done. Now they come to talk about scope. What was the level of variability in the mobile money interoperability implemented by this government as against what they were going to implement, such that that level of variability could lead to over 1,000 inflation of the figure of the cost? It doesn't make sense.
Fair enough.
Okay, that is what we are talking about. So you keep shifting the
I'll leave you to think on that. I'll take a short break. I still have time. I'll come back. We're still discussing value for money. This is still the point of view. Thank you for staying with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Point of View. My guest, Gideon Boakun, doctor. He is the spokesperson for the vice president, and Felix Kwakye Ofosu is former deputy minister. He's running for AAK.
Abra Asebu Kwamankesi.
It's a mouthful. I have a quick question for you before he comes in.
One of my duties is to make it a household.
Your argument is that the Circle Bridge was not value for money. The project cost was inflated. The company that did the work is Queiroz Gava, it's a Brazilian company. Why have you given them other works like Obechebi Lamte works?
Oh, why? The fact that a company signed a contract with a different government and the contract was fustian, as quote unquote, does not mean that if I have to sign a contract to him and the contract is clean, I shouldn't do that. It has nothing to do with it.
But don't forget that if you go to Brazil itself, they've prosecuted companies for taking part in projects that were inflated. So my point is that if it's as inflated as you say, and they tarnish enough for a government which is as clean as yours to give them a similar project less than 2 years later at another place.
Let someone take it to court and let the court determine. Until then, you can't.
No, it's not legality. I'm talking morality.
You can't accuse them.
Don't you think that you could have said, we don't want anything to do with a company that did this project which was so inflated that you're using to score political points, and therefore we will not give them any contract?
The issue of morality can always be subjective, but has nothing to do with the competence of that company. Insofar as the
really?
company.
If a company can implement, you are saying that 4 interchanges are equal to 1.
Yeah.
And they supervised it and wasted our money based on what Dr. Bawumia is saying. Don't you think you should have said, well, because of this, we won't do business with you again?
You need to assess the new contract they have, whether or not they were value for money. If they were value for money, the other issue of morality can be addressed. But I'm saying that the fact that different governments signed a contract with them and the contract, quote unquote, is a bit tainted, does not have anything to do with their technical competences, and therefore, if they can enter into another contract.
Bernard, first of all, the reason why Curious Gaba has it is that they didn't have a say in it. That contract predates them. The loan for it was secured in November 2016 by President Mahama. The loan for Pokwase was secured in November 2016 by President Mahama. The grants for the I beg your pardon. The grants for the Tema interchange. The processes started. In fact, the application was put in 2013. By 2016, the money had come. So it predates them. As a friend of mine will say, President Akufo-Addo knows nothing about those interchanges, and those interchanges know nothing about President Akufo-Addo. Now, again, this bizarre point that the primary determinant is the length is not true. You need to ask the length of what? The Kwame Nkrumah, the Ring Road flyover. It's a 6-lane, 24-meter wide bridge. The dimensions for Pokwase is 16 meters in terms of width. The length of
so 2/3.
Absolutely.
2/3 of sector.
Again, materials, the nature of the subsoil, the number of piles that you need to sink, the ancillary projects. I have the full scope. I can leave you with one of them.
I'll be happy.
Yeah, when I finish, I'll give it to you. I think I have another copy. This is the full scope of works. It shows you all the ancillary works. There's nothing here. In the Tamale interchange, project, they don't use composite steel. They use just concrete. Composite steel is expensive, but it is an efficient way of building.
Can we leave the interchange and go to
I want to establish the point that 1, there was never any inflation. 2, all the interchanges are different. That's how I've proven in terms of scope of work.
Yes,
they are spanned and everything.
That's the final point. I think the third, we have a minute. The third one Dr. Bawumia makes is that the claim that the abandoned projects is not true, and he gives the health example of the 30 hospital projects, they finished 16.
Again, but you need to understand how projects are abandoned. There are projects like these interchanges, like the 10 polyclinics that are funded. You've gone for money from AFGB. The money is there. You have contractual obligations. You have to pay interest. You have to amortize the loan and all that. So you have no option. Then there are projects like Saglemi, where the money runs out and there are variations. So government doesn't have the money and is not willing to continue. They've abandoned it. The NMS project, the contractor needs, I believe, an additional $40 to $50 million to complete. They have abandoned it because they don't have the money.
These are hospitals.
So it is true that they have abandoned some projects, but there are projects that they can't do anything about. Indeed, the Tema to Impakadan Rail project, it's an Exim Bank project. We secured $398 million in November 2016. But the catch? Exim Bank projects are such that they use it to promote trade in the country where the money is coming from. So the money doesn't go through the government of Ghana. The bank disburses directly to the contractor once. And if you check, you will find that actually often it is a contractor that promotes the deal. They actually secure the loan. Sometimes they purchase the equipment and ship it directly to the contractor without going through the government of Ghana. All the government of Ghana does is to certify that work has been done and they sign off. So there are projects that you don't have a say in terms of whether they proceed or not.
The 16 out of 30, they didn't abandon.
The money was there. You couldn't have abandoned.
So I think they had the choice, they would have abandoned.
Absolutely.
Really?
As has been the case in the NMS project and the Saglemi project, the reason why they have been abandoned is that there are variations requiring additional funding. And they have not done it. The NMS one, the primary reason is due to exchange rate losses. And the contractor is saying that I have lost money because of the 2-year delay. They were doing some auditing, which yielded nothing, and it stopped the project for 2 years. In between that 2 years, the contractor says he's lost value because of depreciation. So pay me before I continue. They don't have the money, or they are not willing to find it. That is why it has stopped.
Comment on that.
Before I comment on that, I want to also drill down again on
you have only 2 minutes.
The analysis he did after I spoke and he changed his group. Now he's talking about the width of the interchange.
Yeah, but it's I never said interchange.
No.
I did not say that it was only the lead that determines
Okay, you know, when we
I
finish,
want to
we'll
show
go and
the
do- we'll go and
poverty.
do that.
I want to show the poverty in that.
That's not
argument.
poverty late. You are just
He talks
refusing to
about. He
accept.
talk about length. I came to make my
Bernard,
argument.
I
He changed
never
it.
said
But
length was only
allow
determined.
me.
I'm
Allow me.
surprised
Okay, all right,
because you
allow
don't like
me.
to digest your
But
words.
you see, it is important
It's
so that he does not
because
discuss
the
the
superior
facts.
argument is
There's no
coming.
superior argument.
Listen,
brother. You are
then he
being
changed the
very
goalpost.
simplistic.
But you are today.
Very
you are-
simplistic.
You are,
Very, very
behaving-
simplistic.
you are surprising me.
Sure,
too.
sure, sure. No
Then he
problem.
changed the
I was
goalpost
surprised
from
you.
length to width. But even the width, the circle interchange has a width of 24 meters. He says that the Pokuase one has 16. The Obechebe Lente one has 17. If we add the two, 33. I'm coming. I'm coming. Bernard,
Bernard, you didn't hear me talk about materials, soil structure, and sea level. What is this?
I think you are not helping.
No, I'm a bit surprised about it. But
To be fair, if you talk of length, he brings length and he deals with it. You talk of width.
You see,
No,
Bernard,
hold on.
He's
It's a
behaving as if I have isolated length as a
no,
only
no,
term.
no,
I've not done that
I
on this
think you are being
program.
unfair because you have multivariate analysis.
Yes.
You take length. He says that on length, your point cannot be true.
But I didn't. You see,
Good, I'm coming. Then he
Yes.
says that on width, there are also other issues. So you can deal with materials too. I don't
Yes,
understand.
so that is
but,
the point.
but you can't say that he can't deal with the
No, but
width.
I'm saying that I have not said that
please,
length
fellas.
and width alone.
No, but
Fellas.
that's
No, you see what he has done is that he's facing the impression that I have said that length alone determines. I have not done that.
Felix,
Please.
I think you need to allow him to finish the
That's fine,
submission.
But we must establish what I
fellas.
said. That is
Fellas.
important. Go ahead.
Me
Go ahead.
after school, everything.
Go ahead,
Everybody.
go ahead,
Me, I'm
go
a
ahead.
teacher.
Go ahead, no problem.
Okay?
Go ahead.
The teacher in me
Master,
will always take me to
is
the
it
lecture
this
hall.
thing? It is
Please.
fact. It is not about
You're
opinion.
talking about, you're moving from to
I'm not moving.
to-
I get a
please.
composite
You see, right
submission.
now, you are taking.
That is a style.
at the
Oh,
start.
that's not my style. It's just I'm a bit surprised at that.
Go
Go
I'm
ahead,
saying
go
that
ahead.
cycle interchange
You
has
have
a
heard
weight
me.
of 24.
You have heard me.
Pokuase has 16. Okay, Obechebe has 17. If we add the two, 33. Their width is even
So what
higher
about the materials?
than-
What about the number of files?
Please.
What about the composite steel?
I guess
These
he
are
wants
matters that
us
I've
to
said.
close.
But you should point it to him actually.
He
I
wants
said
us
all
to
of that.
close.
Anyway,
So
anyway,
the
that's fine.
superior argument
Master, there's
will
no superior
always be
argument
given.
anywhere.
30 seconds.
You are just
Abandon
refusing
projects.
to-
Abandon
Okay.
The
projects.
truth of the matter is that
16 out of 30.
I
Finish.
cannot say that we have finished every project they left. Okay? I must be very honest. But the truth of the matter is that we have continued most of their projects and finished. And that is why I mentioned the E-blocks. 27 of them we have finished. They left 30 polyclinics. We've completed 16 of them. He says that we had no option than to complete. This is ridiculous.
How is it ridiculous?
President Akufo-Addo did it in the interest of Ghana.
How is it
that
ridiculous?
he shouldn't allow it to go waste. It is government money. It is Ghana people's money. So we are continuing their project. They abandoned a lot of President Kufuor's project. They abandoned the affordable housing projects. They were all in the bushes. Nobody cared about them.
Okay.
This government has come, continued the affordable housing, has finished them. Continued project that they left, we have finished. Done 27 of their E-blocks. That's against 29 that they did. By the time this government exits its first term, would have finished more than 29 E-blocks as against what they did. That is the essence of governance. That is the democracy we all cherish.
Thank
and
you.
President Akufo-Addo will continue to give
Thank you.
Ghanaians that kind of leadership.
Thank you.
Compassionate leadership, leadership that cares about the
Thank
people,
you.
leadership that values the money and the sweat of the Ghanaian
Thank
people.
you. That was
and
Dr.
that is what we are
Gideon
doing.
Boakun, and he's the spokesperson to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We also had Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, parliamentary candidate for NDC for AEEK, and also former Deputy Communication Minister. Thank you for staying with us, particularly our Facebook viewers as well. We really appreciate your time. Let the discussions be healthy. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.